What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia, coming to you this April 24th, last week of April. Man, I feel like this month is going by so fast. It's crazy. Look, I guess when you're having fun, things goes by fast. I always have a great time. My man Justin Ruderman. Justin, how you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. It's been good. LAFC's been out of town, but Angel City has been in town. Haven't been playing necessarily well, but that game against San Diego was a lot of fun to go at. The crowd was very, very good there. So love to see that for women's soccer, and of course Julie Ertz making her debut was always fun.
Yeah, us talk about that. I still have yet to have gone to an Angel City game. I don't know what I'm doing. I know I'm missing out. Just so
Yeah.
much footy going on around the city. I feel like sometimes I need to take a break. But tell me about the experience. How is it different? Obviously, from an LAFC game. Obviously, I know it's more. It's a. I'm assuming there'd be more women there. It's just some perception. But tell me about overall experience at Angel City game.
No, yeah, there definitely is demographically more women, but it's sold out, right? I mean, there's still a ton of guys. It's not like that, but it's just a great time. It's a great fan base, and they sold out the game, 22,000 people, and the North End is not quite as loud as LAFC if you want to compare them, obviously, but I think that the rest of the stadium throughout the match is actually louder than at LAFC games because when
Hmm.
you see Alyssa Thompson get on the ball, the entire stadium starts cheering, and we started to see that with Denny Bouanga, of course, at LAFC, but the energy in the stadium, it's like they're living on every single kick of the ball, which the North End brings that energy, and you do hear that energy from the entire stadium. But I've just been unbelievably impressed by the energy from the entire stadium at Angel City games. So yeah, if anybody gets a chance to go to one, I definitely suggest it.
And isn't San Diego, is that their biggest rival? Is this the biggest
Yeah, yeah.
rivalry?
So is their derby match, just like playing Galaxy would be for LAFC. So yeah, big game. They lost 2-0, unfortunately, but it was some poor refereeing led to the first goal, and then the second goal was a wicked deflection. So tough result there for a team that actually played very well in the game.
Yeah, look, you mentioned two things. Alyssa Thompson. I've just been seeing the clips of her pop off on social media. She's the 18-year-old girl who's just out of high school or still in high school. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's just killing it, killing the women's game, footy, at 18 years old. And she is so talented, man. Like I said, I haven't seen a game, but the clips I'm seeing, she looks amazing. Any young girl that looks up to like any football player, right? You've had the Alex Morgan, now it looks like Alyssa Thompson is the girl that everybody's gonna look up to. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting now that you have this new wave of young girls that they have these players that they can look up to, and it's here in your backyard, right? Because we have so much talent here in Southern California. And it's amazing just to see the game grow and just to see, because I think what makes it so awesome is when you have a younger girl that's killing it, because you're like, this is the next phenom, or this is the next, right, the next person that's going to be it. And it's always cool that we have someone like that in LA to see their progress and see where they can go. Obviously, it doesn't, to me, when it comes to footy, it doesn't get bigger than LA, in the states. But yeah, man, that's amazing, and it's going. I'm definitely gonna have to get out there. What are some things you like about her? Because I know you watch more of the games.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. First of all, she is quick. She is absolutely rapid, and her first touch away from a defender is just really, really quick. It's hard to keep up with her. San Diego were putting two people on her basically every single time she got the ball to try and corral her, and they did a pretty good job in that instance. But she's just really fast. She wants to beat her defender and take a shot on goal. She'll take a shot from anywhere and can score from anywhere. She has a great cross on her as well. She's just looking to always make something happen, always go forward. Just a fantastic player to watch and very entertaining. So, yeah, all of NWSL was hoping to get her, but Angel City got that number one pick, picked her up, and as you say, she's supposed to be that next big thing. I think she absolutely can be. Hopefully, she can become one of those U.S. Women's National Team legends. But I hate to put that type of pressure on such a
Of
young
course, yeah,
player.
yeah. One step at a time, right? One step, but the,
Right,
the, the future
exactly.
future looks promising. But yeah, if she continues to work. But I did see also on Twitter, one of the players, I think it might have been Angel City, was talking about Alex Morgan because Alex Morgan plays for San Diego Wave. What happened? Because I didn't see. I saw that she posted that Alex Morgan pushed her. She said, I don't remember the tweet, but it was something along the lines that Alex Morgan pushed her on purpose or something like that. And to go out and post a clip, to me, it's very interesting, and to have the proof to show it. Look, like I said, I wasn't at the game. You were at the game. Was this a missed call? Is this the missed call that you mentioned about the refs, or what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely a missed call. And as you mentioned, Paige Nielsen, defender for Angel City, um, she posted this this morning, I believe it was, on Twitter, and said, Alex Morgan knew exactly what she was doing here. It's so bad. And you don't see players come out and criticize the referees, much less their opponents, in
Yeah,
this type of way. But Alex Morgan changed her run completely, ran through Paige Nielsen from behind on San Diego's counterattack, and pushed her to the ground. She couldn't get back up in time to recover to block the shot, and San Diego ended up scoring. So it was just a very, very obvious foul on this counter. Yeah,
we
right
have it
here,
right
you'll
here.
see it. Yeah, look at Alex Morgan come across, bam, knocks her over. I mean,
Alex
she's
Morgan's in the
purposely
paint,
running. Yeah,
and then this
you
led to the goal.
yeah, and then she cuts back right here. There's the goal. Within a few seconds. So VAR did actually look at this, I think, and they didn't give it as a foul. I don't know how much more clear you can get than Alex Morgan veering her run into Paige Nielsen, knocking her over from behind.
Yeah, yo, the women game is spicy. The
Oh,
women's game is spicy.
I've always
To
said
be
this. The women's game is much more physical than the men's game. They put their bodies on the line, throw their bodies into challenges that they absolutely should not be doing, and it makes for a very entertaining game. But it's just physical and dangerous and great to watch. But yeah, I've always seen the women's game as more physical than the men's game from a youth level all the way up.
Yeah, and look, and you'll get called out. You'll get called out too on these fellas. They got it on 4K too, which is awesome to see. You say we rarely ever see this, but hey, look, the tape doesn't lie. But yeah, look, like to finish this off, I'm gonna head out to an Angel City game this year. That's the one thing on my bucket list that I got to do. I haven't done. I see everybody going to these games, and I know I'm missing out, and I don't like it. So I'm gonna change that. Justin, let's talk about it. Obviously, LAFC traveled to Nashville. I think we all kind of expected a big rotation, because we know what's ahead. Big game on Wednesday, but obviously LAFC went to Nashville. Um, what were your thoughts? Because we had no Carlos Vela. Boanga started. We got Bogus. He got his first start. Buick, uh, Steve Buick. I don't know how I always butcher his last name. He got the start. Obviously, the rotation. Eric Duenas getting the start to me is amazing. That's another academy player that I think he has a really, really bright future with LAFC and what he can do. Obviously, Cifuentes got the start. What do you think of this whole rotation and everything? Because obviously it was necessary. But what do you think about any individual performances in the draw on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. The rotation ahead of the Champions League, of course, which, you know, obviously it's partly because of that. And it's also partly because there's been a couple injuries and a couple players coming back from international duty. And so it just coincided to a perfect need for this type of major rotation that we saw Dueña start, the second academy player from LAFC to ever start an MLS game. Bogusz got his full debut. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Stipe Buke getting that start on the left wing as well. Yeah, Buke obviously had that one miss that we have to mention because it was a point blank miss and he has to be scoring that, but he knows that. And I think that at this point, it's getting a little bit in his head where it's like he knows he has to score and he's missing these chances that he shouldn't be missing. And he knows, like, I'm a way better player than this. Why am I, skying this point blank chance? But I just think it's one where you give him time and it'll come around. Just keep giving him the support if you're an LAFC fan, because that's what he needs as a young player who just came halfway across the world, and is struggling a little bit to make sure that he's getting, the full potential out of him. But Sharundalo knows exactly how to handle this and will get the best out of him. But as you mentioned, Eric Duenas was the standout in this match. He played a fantastic match. To me, was the man of the match on his debut. Really genuinely was the best player on the pitch for me. He was offensively creating 5 passes into a final third, I think, creating chances, and defensively was all over the pitch. I mean, it was, when you see a player that is that small, that is trying to make his impact and put his body into challenges, fight with players that are much bigger than him in the center of the park, it's difficult to do, right? He came up as a right back mostly, but I think he's better as a central midfielder, and that's what he's been moved to recently, because he's good at being aware of everything around him. He's good at connecting passes and building out of the back. He's shown that. So absolutely impressed with what he's shown, and I can't wait to continue to watch his progression.
Yeah, look, he's 5'4", 18 years old, and it is exciting to watch, man, in that midfield. And I started noticing this when Cherundolo brought him off the bench. I don't know if you remember, Justin. You and I were talking about this. He brought him off the bench over Cifuentes. I want to say maybe it was the Vancouver game, CCL or something like that. But I don't know if you remember this conversation. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Duenas is coming instead of Cifuentes. And I was like, Cifuentes kind of needs the minutes. That's when it kind of clicked to me. I was like, Duenas is doing something good for Sharundolo to give him those minutes and want to see more of him on the field. Look, I'm not, to be honest, like, I'm not surprised of what we've seen him. And to me, it's exciting when you have that young type of talent of a player to be able to do that. And now we kind of saw it in a big game, right? And you kind of get to see a little bit more of that depth of the midfield that the LAFC has that we were a little curious about, right? And I think the biggest thing too, also, we know that LAFC, right? We talked about this last week. We know LAFC can draw the big superstars. We know they do an awesome job recruiting. Now the next step is build up on that homegrown talent, which that they're doing, right? We had Christian Torres, right, who years ago was able, got some minutes in. Now we're seeing with Eric Duenas, because you also want, right, if you're the LAFC, you want to have that pathway that the kids here in LA, the kids here in Southern California, the talented kids that can make it on the team and the academies, have a clear pathway to make it to the first team. And I think if Eric Duenas continues this road and paints that pathway, I think that's when you have an amazing and successful club, from recruiting, drawing big superstars, and also producing the local talent and getting first team minutes. That to me is just the cherry on top.
No, you've absolutely nailed it, because Eric Duenas has been in the LAFC system since the U12 level, right? He said this 2016. That's 2 years before LAFC played an MLS match. They've been building this for years and years, right? Nearly a decade now, for Duenas to be in this system. And it's just fantastic to see the production and to see it finally pay off, because we've all talked about how good the infrastructure looks in the LAFC Academy. What they've built looks to be good, but it only matters if you can produce that final product of players who can play at that top level. And it just seems like Duenas is going to be that first guy to pave the way, as you said. And I think it's also that they build not only great players, but great people, because Duenas is one of the most humble and an intelligent 18-year-olds that I think I've ever seen playing football. Because in his press conference, right? Well, first of all, Steve Sharundolo said that he played that number 8 position exactly how he's asked to do it in this game, which is, Steve Sharundolo doesn't give that type of praise to many players. But I asked Duenas, Steve said that. What do you think is what makes you do that position so well? What makes a perfect LAFC 8? And he doesn't talk about himself, wouldn't talk about himself. It's always about the team. I'm grateful for my teammates. I'm grateful for this coaching staff. They helped me improve. And it was always about them. The only time that he ever mentioned himself in the entire press conference was when he said, yeah, I was a little nervous.
Yeah, look, and that, I think that's also expected too from a youngster like Duenas. He's still getting media trained and all that, but yeah, man, he is such a joy to watch, and he is exciting what he can do. And look, obviously when you're surrounded with so many stars and so many talented players at that young age, right? I think it's only going to make him better and improve him, right? You got Ilya right there, you have Costa, and then Sifu as well. So I mean, look, we're starting to see it, man. We're starting to see that this kid could potentially be the one of the most exciting midfielders here in the next couple of years in the MLS because of the things he's doing. And look, and if he starts to get Champions League minutes, we'll see if that's a possibility for him. But like after this game, you have to assume that he can provide some type of minutes. Because the more experience and also that depth is going to be tested, especially with all these games coming up. So to me, I like what I'm seeing there. I'm like what I'm seeing from everybody there, and also look just to close out on this. I think it gives a lot more hopes, a lot of little LAFC two guys hope and more motivation because if they see what Duenas is doing, they should also be thinking like, why can't I get a shot?
Right, absolutely. You saw Dolomeier get the one game call up for this game, the center back from LAFC two, mostly because of injuries, but he gets that opportunity. Maybe he gets minutes. We've heard about Julian Gaines for years and years, right? Maybe he gets some time, and there's more players in that LAFC two squad that have shown some talent as well.
Yeah, let's. I want to quickly look at the standings. This is in. I just want to give you a heads up. This is in Spanish. This is from MLS and Espanol. MLS regular page didn't have it, but just a heads up. So just in case you see some things, you're like, I don't know what that means. Obviously, St. Louis is number one with 19 points. Seattle second. LAFC in third place, 18 points. Um, and then obviously all the way at the bottom, you have Kansas City, who's been terrible, and then you have the LA Galaxy with 6 points, who just got their first win. Well, I know it's still early, but what are your thoughts on when you look at this list? After week 9.
My thoughts are, how is it possible for LA Galaxy to have won one game and be 3 points out of a playoff spot?
Yeah.
That tells me that these new rules are ridiculous. We have way too many playoff teams. I mean, you can be that bad and potentially make the playoffs. It's worrying, but yeah, I mean, as far as LAFC goes, I mean, a game in hand, so they're on track to be top of the league and top of the Supporter Shield race if they were to win that game in hand. And then I look at teams like San Jose and Houston in that 5-6 spot, who were very poor teams last season and are looking a lot better this season with additions on the pitch and, of course, managers. So, yeah, I think it's a big changes in this league, and it's always fun to look at this because things will just change every single year in MLS. It's too unpredictable. Obviously, Austin is the other one you look at who went from up to down rather than down to up. They've been struggling, whether it be injuries, tactics. Everybody has their own opinions, but yeah, just
terrible,
craziness.
And they lost to the Galaxy, which is just to me, just two bad teams playing. But yeah, you mentioned on the point the thing that makes this so, I guess, mind-boggling is right. Like you don't get punished if you have a bad start in MLS, and I think that's one thing that I think we all kind of had an issue when. I forgot like 70% of the teams are going to have a chance to make the playoffs and stuff. Look, I think we want more competition, but we also don't want, at least for me as a spectator, someone that watches the game, I don't just want everybody to get a participation trophy to put it lightly. Hopefully this is something that could get changed next season because I think, look, if you're a successful team, you deserve to have the success. But also, if you're struggling, you're one of those teams that are struggling. Then also, I don't know if you should get rewarded with potentially still having a chance after like week 8, week 9, still have a chance to make the playoffs. What makes it a little interesting. I apologize if my earphones, if you guys hear a little bit of the static. But yeah, I will have to see. I guess the one thing for the Galaxy is you had Ricky Puig. And Chicharito score a goal first time this season. That's some positive. They look good. We'll have to see what happens with them moving forward. I think they got Costa back and all these different things, but they should have the way that team is built and the players that they have. They should have a lot more points, but we'll see because we still have a couple more El Tráficos between LAFC and LA Galaxy, and we have the one in the Rose Bowl, and then I think one at BMO Stadium. So we'll see what happens here in a couple months because look, it's a long season with the MLS, and anything can kind of change.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's just I think that that's the way that MLS is set up in general, right? Reward pretty much everyone and don't necessarily punish the worst teams, right? No pro rel, nothing like that. It's always make the most money that you can, even if you're not spending it. And that's what I think that fans don't want to see is they want to see rewarding for spending money. If you want to win, spend some money, and then you'll be able to win in MLS. And that's what you deserve, and that's what fans deserve because I know that there are a lot of fans who spend their money to go to games and home and away and don't necessarily get their just reward.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, look, LAFC play. Let's wrap things up with this. LAFC play Philadelphia away this Wednesday. It's a big game, right? Big game. The last time these two clubs faced each other was an MLS Cup final. Amazing final. It was historic and everything. What are your expectations for this game for LAFC?
My expectations are basically to see a very good game like that final. I mean, Steve Shrundle was asked what he expected, and he said the closest thing that I think you'll see is that final because it's two very good teams, two teams that know each other very, very well. There's not going to be any surprises tactically or personnel wise. They understand what the other team is going to bring forth. And it's just going to be a battle and a really good battle, hopefully. So, yeah, as you mentioned, one of the biggest games in LAFC history. Absolutely. A trip to the CCL final on the line, and the away leg is obviously so big to start it off. So yeah, it's gonna be a really, really exciting one, but also a huge battle. And anything a draw or a win would be a huge result for LAFC.
Yeah, look, yeah, a draw I think which is probably the most likely. But if you get a win, you get a win. Philly, they still have that bad taste in their mouth because they have to be feeling like they could have been MLS Cup champions. The way that final finished, it went to the PKs. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come out on top in the PKs. I expect similar things, Justin. I expect it to be tough. Their center backs are big, tall, Um, so it's like the defense is pretty strong. They're just a complete team, just like LFC, and they wouldn't be here in the semifinal if they weren't there. So it's unfortunate it's on a Wednesday, but that's how these Champions League games go. And to me, it's gonna be one of the most exciting games so far of the year because of the short history that these two teams have. And every time these two teams have faced each other, they always score goals for whatever reason. There's always a lot of goals being scored on, so we can expect a lot of goals. And you also mentioned the next leg too is going to be I believe next Tuesday at BMO Stadium. So it's a quick turnaround with playing there in Philly this week and then coming back. So we'll see what happens uh, with that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we got going on. Or LAFC doesn't have a game this weekend. They don't.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
their game
Just
has been
sorry.
postponed. Their Houston game has been postponed because you want to make it even. Philadelphia doesn't have a game there, so both teams get the full weekend's rest between the games, which is fantastic to see. MLS has recently done this in semifinals over the past couple of years because you want to give your MLS teams the best chance to compete, and that means having them rested, fully rested. Which is why it's interesting to see that. Obviously, we talked about LAFC's rotation in this past weekend against Nashville, but Philadelphia played their first choice 11 against Toronto, right? Only a few days before. So they have less than a week's rest on their full 11, which is just an interesting decision from Jim Curtin. They did smash Toronto up. They
Yeah.
scored 4 goals on them. And so it obviously gives them that confidence. You can look at it two ways, right? They have that incredible confidence that they're high flying going into that game, but they also don't have quite as fresh legs as you would expect LAFC to.
Yeah. Look, it's gonna be a very interesting game. See what
The
happens.
other thing,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the other thing I would add, sorry, is that LAFC flew back to LA between the Nashville and Philadelphia games, which is really surprising to me. I would have expected them to just stay on the East Coast, not have those extra flying minutes. It just makes those legs a little bit more heavy when you have to sit in that plane seat for an extra 10 hours or whatever. It was an interesting decision for me.
Yeah, that is interesting because look, it's like a 5 hour flight. It has to be a 4 to 5 hour flight to Nashville, and the same thing, another 4 or 5 hour flight to Philadelphia. Like
Yeah.
some maybe yeah, because they played Saturday. You fly. What I'm assuming you fly Saturday night or early Saturday morning, and then you fly back. If the game's Wednesday, you got to fly back Tuesday. So they get a day in LA, 2 days in LA, I guess.
Yeah.
2 days in LA, and then you fly back.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out. A lot of components going into it, but absolutely the two best teams probably in MLS, in my opinion, going at it for a chance to go to that Champions League semi or to the Champions League final.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, look, that's gonna wrap things up for us here, guys. Excuse me. Appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll be back with you guys next week. Hope you guys have a great week. Bye, everybody.